Yeah. Welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Jakabit. This is a music production guide. In case you're coming across this channel for the first time, please try to consider subscribing to this channel. Turn on the notification bell so that you'll be the first to get notified once we upload a new brand video, because we do upload videos every Mondays and every Fridays. Right beside me is More X. Okay, he's an engineer that came around to learn some few things about music production. This channel is meant to guide you, to give you guide tutorial on how you can do your beats, on how you can do your mixing and mastering, and everything that concerns music production. Okay, today we have a lot of stuff to train you guys today. So without wasting time, let's go into the tutorial we have for today. Today we'll be doing a lot of stuff, but we'll be starting by lecturing you guys on what we call studio section procedures. Now, some people will be asking, how does record section happens? Like if you're like, if you're a beginner, that's the kind of imagination that always come to your mind. How particularly does these people record these songs? Is it that they record it a straight way? Sometimes someone might ask a question. I want to know all those backups, all those instrumentalists, how are they formed? How is a song being produced? How practically, what is the important thing they normally do? What are those things they do that makes these songs a professional songs? So that is what we'll be looking at today. So the topic of today is going to be studio section procedures, how a recording section happens, and in what order. Okay, I'll be revealing to you guys 7 stages of recording and 4 questions to ask before you record a band. You know, most times as a producer, you don't know some questions to ask, some things you got to put in mind before you can say, okay, I want to record a band. Okay, so these are the 3 major subtopics that we are going to be looking at. Now, the first one is 7 stages of recording. Mind you, everything have stages. The births have stages. The process of living have stages. The production of music have stages. Your recording have stages. And if you don't understand those stages, then know that you have a very big problem. What I mean big problem is that you're going to run into a big problem later in the recording section if you don't consider those stages. Okay, so what I'll be trying today is for you to know those stages and to get them in your fingernails, so that once you're about to record an artist or a band, you'll be able to say, okay, these stages, the requirements for these stages are being met. Do you understand? The first stage of recording a song is what we call pre-production. What I say? Pre-production. Now, as they say that as an engineer, you generally aren't involved during the production. I realized in earlier career that you should at least make a recording artist aware of this stage. Now, what am I trying to say? Some artists don't involve an engineer whenever they are doing a pre-production. Now, pre-production is not a production that have already been concluded as a production. It is just like you on your own self, you figure out a song within yourself. Probably you made a little keyboard demo of the song and you are trying to see a way you can put it together to be a song. Okay, now what they are trying to say is that as an engineer, you should first of all get to know the stages. The first, how does this song came about? Was it written by someone and gave to someone? Was it composed by me or by someone? What's the inspiration behind this production? You understand? Some artists will tell you, okay, I got an inspiration me listening to Michael Jackson or me listening to social artists. Do you understand? Then you say, okay, Now I see, okay, now as an engineer, you have already started picturing what the artist wanted in that song. Do you understand? But some artists don't like to involve producers or engineers during their pre-production, which is certainly bad. So once you want to record an artist that, you know, this is a potential artist, because mind you, some artists are not potential. Do you understand? So I'm saying this, but that's the fact. Okay, but once you're able to discover an artist that are potential, what you got to understand is get to know the preparation. It will make the section more smoother and likely make the overall section better. If a recording section does not include a producer and the band is inexperienced, the engineer may get stuck producing the song. So what I'm trying to say here, I'm not trying to read out what stuff here, but I'm trying to explain to you that if you don't involve an engineer during your pre-production, certainly the section is going to get stopped. Just like you giving a contractor a project to do and you didn't guide him from the beginning, you just probably at the middle or somewhere you now brought an engineer to oversee whatever you are doing. It will take an engineer to still refer back to the beginning. From the beginning will give the results wanted and actually make the song or the project more smoother. Okay, that is the first stage that you have to know about. What do I say? Pre-production. So it's very, very important. Now, as an engineer, there are some evaluations that you need to know during that pre-production. Let's assume that an artist comes to you and said, okay, I want us to start this from scratch, okay? And these are the things. So there are some valuations that you have to put in place. One of the valuations is consider if that song is dragging. Like consider if sometimes they might record a demo and send to you, they might do a little bit of recording on their phones and send to you. So you consider if the demo or the songs that the artist wants to produce is dragging, or rather is rushing into tempo. Whether is it too fast, more than the artist, or does the song actually need a fast tempo or a slow tempo? Get to understand that. Talk one-on-one to the artist that you have an issues about the tempo, you have an issues about how the song is dragging. What if we can do the tempo this way and this way? And with that, you guys will end up getting something good. So another stuff you got to know about there is that, should I record a different key? These are the questions you should be asking the producer, the artist. You understand? Does this sound like everybody is playing together? And no, should there be a different arrangement? Just like I said right now, okay? You should ask a lot of questions. If the arrangement the artist is trying to offer on that demo, is it something that you guys are going to arrange to something that is going to suit better? Okay, there are some artists that knows their jobs very, very well. They believe that you can combine forces together, ideas together. Do you understand? When they present a demo for you, okay, get to listen to this and tell me your feedback. Now you, as a producer, should now tell, okay, these are my observations. Probably the way you are rushing the song isn't supposed to be. There are some songs that don't supposed to get fast. You caution the artist, let's make the tempo like say 100. Before it might be 150 or 120, okay? You reduce the tempo a bit and help the artist to rearrange some of the lines and some of the songs so that it will get more smoother. So that is the first thing you should know on the evaluation. Do you understand? Another details you have to know about this particular pre-production is that the other thing I have to add on the pre-production is the rehearsal techniques. How, if it's something that you can employ someone that's going to put him through or put her through on the stuffs, let them get into rehearsal often and often before you guys talked about recording the main song. Do you understand? So that is called rehearsal. Make sure that every rehearsal you do, make sure you record the rehearsals. Sometimes you can record through your phone. Sometimes if you have opportunity to record it, in your DAWs to get the more picture of, or the more clarity of what you're doing. Make sure you go and do that. It's very, 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 very important that you do that, so that on your own time you can be able to get to listen often and often and understand what the recording does. Now, mind you that the first rehearsal you do and the second to the last rehearsal before recording, depending on the time of rehearsal, are not going to be the same. There should be a perfection from the first rehearsal to the one that you did last before you record the main song. So if you are not getting any improvement from the first rehearsal to the last one you're going to do before you record the song, then know that definitely that you have not even started. So make sure you get your artist into rehearsals when all those song structures and arrangement is being met. You understand? So the second stages of recording is called setup. What is setup? Setup involves tuning the band, addressing isolation issues, picking mics, preparing headphones, mixers, starting track sheets or templates, labeling the console, tracks or inputs. What do they actually mean? Okay, if you observe before, okay, you have been with me and you have understand the processes on how I record. You haven't asked yourself the reason why before I start recording an artist, or before I start, doing the proper recording of artists, you see that I keep labeling my mixing consoles. I put my kick, I label my kick, I label my snare, I label my vocals, okay? I make sure that the drums have the connection. I check the wires to see that there's no form of partial contact or bridge, okay? If it's something that you change the wires, you should do it. So these are the processes I do before the actual recording. So the second stage of recording is your setup. A lot of people have bad recording because of poor setup. Sometimes the bassist or the drummer might not be hearing themselves too clear. Do you understand? You that is singing as an artist might discover that the backups are too over loud than me, which normally the backup not supposed to be over loud than the lead voice. Okay, so if you're an engineer, you didn't set up, you didn't do a proper setup, then there will be a lot of issues, and you don't want to run into such issues. Okay, that's the reason why you have to make sure you set it up. Okay, let's go to the system. Right here, they are talking about the setup. Just like you see right here, setup, you have the track, the kick, the snare, the drum side, the drum room, the bass. You see how they were rebelling it. You see how they were rebelling it. Then they do the title. These are the title. You talked about the keyboard. If probably you're using a 2 keyboard, you title it. You do even down to the track sheet. You understand? It's very, very important that you record it. Okay, this one is a DAW. The last one right here is a DAW. The DAW is a digital workstation where you record those instruments that they are playing. Okay, you make sure you set up those tracks. If you are recording on multi-track is recording more than 2 tracks all together. You are running a live section recording. You make sure you set up those audio or individual tracks. Make sure you set it up, create the channels, create the tracks. If there are some channels that you need to group, you should group it at that point in time. Probably you want to group a particular vocals to this particular side. You want to group a lead vocal to the particular side. So these are just set up. You are preparing for the recording. And if you are a professional engineer that knows your value, that knows your work, those setup should be saved as a template. So that tomorrow, if such artist, maybe someone that sings the kind of genres of music that you just recorded comes, it will be easier for you to get it up, get the setup up, instead of going from back and start. You understand? So what you'll be doing is now to check your wires, check your cables, and run whatever you need to run. Okay, so it is a very tips that a lot of people don't understand, or they don't put into consideration, which I urge you guys to try to put it into consideration. So the setup is a very good stage during your recording. Another stop you need to know about your recording is called the basic or reading tracks. Basic or reading tracks involve recording the bed of a song. This stage involves around what the song will be built on and occurs after you have set everything up. Think of basic tracks as an initial stage of building a house. You must have a solid foundation to build a structurally sound house. At this stage, the song needs to be in time and on tune. There should be at least a little bit of record. It should be done a little bit. Okay, now basic tracks details are as follows. Establish the time and tune. With songwriters, you may record a clip first to establish a tempo and the length of the song, then an instrument track such as acoustic guitar. What I'm trying to say is that the more you establish time to record it, the more the players and you as an engineer is getting to used to the song, you actually get used to all those stops. So when the proper recording sets in, it will not be as if you were just bumped into just recording. You understand every piece, everything that you need to know. You understand? That is what they are trying to say right here. Remove some tracks. After that, remove some tracks that are not necessary. Just like in your DAW, when you set up some audio individual tracks, maybe you might need like 10 individual tracks. Then at the end of the day, you used 5 individual tracks. So the other remaining 5 individual tracks, you have to remove them, because you keeping them there is gonna get you confused, and you might end up using the wrong channel in place of the right channel. So you should understand that. Okay, and if there are needs for you to multiply some tracks, like probably okay, you needed another lead audio track. So what you need to do is to multiply it instead of putting up another fresh tracks. You understand? That is for that. And another stops is if there are some stops like reading, some stops you need to correct. These are the things you need to do. Okay, very, very, very important. Then another stops you need to know about the stages of recording is called overdub. What do I say? Okay, right now overdub is it takes place after a solid basic tracks has been recorded. This is a stage where you begin to lay a song with individual instrument, not played during the initial basic tracking. Overdubs take place after a solid basic track has been recorded. This is the stage where you begin to lay a song with individual instrument, not played during the initial basic track. If we make a plan that we are recording 5 string instruments, and you as an engineer, you're setting up your stuff, you might end up bringing like 6 instruments or 7 instruments. The 2 or 3 instruments are the one added to the previous arrangement, right? Now those ones that is being added to the previous arrangement, you should make sure you record it with the main one, so that you know if that one you added is going to be okay for the actual recording. Remember, what you're talking about is an analog live recording. So if you discover that you are okay with the 5 instruments that already been budgeted, then then you should record the 5 instruments. But if you see that all of them are still intact and okay, you should now involve them. That is what they are trying to say right here. Now, another thing is rough mix. At some point, before or after overdubbing, you may make some rough mix of what you have recorded so far and hand them out to the musician. Think of rough mix as a quick sketch. Rough mix can be used by the artist to evaluate their performance. Very important. I have some issues with some artists. I will not use the word issues, but it's just like they don't understand these stages of recording. Most of them don't understand these stages of recording. Okay, but it is your obligation as an engineer to do a bit of rough mixing. Like after you might have recorded or dubbed those stuffs you have recorded, do a little bit, not a serious mix. Let the artist play it like about 2 or 1 week. You know, let he or she understand what happened that day. You know, it will help to make him or to make the artist get familiar with the whole setup. And if there should be an additional stuff, or if there should be anything to add, it should now be okay. These are the things I discovered. This is my own opinion. This is my suggestion. I want you to remove this. I want you to add this. It makes it very perfect. You understand? So always do a rough mix before you do the main mix. Very, very important. Then, just like I said, the last stages of this stage of recording is called mixing. Mixing is that place whereby you balance the instrument, you do your compressors, your limiter, you do the pan, you do the equalization, you do your editing, you add your effects, your FX, your automations, and all of that. Okay. During our mixing tutorials, I will take this gradually. This tutorial is not going to be based on me explaining balancing of instruments, compressor, panning, equalization, and all of that. This is not a tutorial for that, okay? But what the mixing entails is a careful understanding what happened in that song. Make sure you give a good treatment to those instruments being used, those vocals being used. Because if you didn't give those instruments the treatment you need to give them, for instance, if you didn't give the kick the treatment you need to give them, the right frequency, the stops you need to do, the compressors and all of that, it will have an effect to the bass, it will have an effect to the vocals. Therefore, making your mix rough, not smooth, not balanced. Okay, so these are the stage. And please, for those of us that are watching this episode, which we started on Audio 101 Engineering, please try everything possible to understand these stages of recording. If you're able to understand these stages of recording, it's going to make you to have a better song, a better mixed song, a better production. Even the artist will want to come back again to record with you. But you see, most of us, sorry I'm saying this, most of the African producers are just centered on money. Book your section, I'll produce for you. Most times they don't have that time to work on the artist, to tell the artist about the pre-productions, to tell the artists about all those things of recording. They don't have it. And it's not their fault. I won't tell you. It's not their fault. Most times it might be the fault of the artist, because those artists are always in a rush. I have a couple of them back then. They were like, do you know I have a show in 2 weeks time? And they will end up rushing you to produce that song under a week. And after you are done producing a song in a week, they just want to record that song because they needed to perform in that show. And they don't know that music is not done that way. So you have to make them understand that recording a song is not just garbage in and garbage out, because anything you put in tells on the output. You understand? So this is just an advice I'm giving to us. And the last topic I want to say today before I round up this particular section of recording and stuff like that I've just said right here is gonna be on some questions that they ask. There are some basic questions in which you should ask before you can record a band. Not just you asking a question, is ask the question and have an answer. Even if you don't have an answer, let them have an answer. There must be an answer, because the process is not just to ask question. The process is to ask question and still have an answer. So these are the stuff I need to make sure you guys know. So let's go straight to the screen. Now, 4 questions to ask before you record a band. Okay, before a recording session, you should ask the questions. You should ask the band or artist the following questions. 1 is, what is your budget? This determines how much time to spend on each stage. The budget typically determines when the project is over, and it also determines where we record. You see, some artists don't know that music production is expensive. A quality music production is expensive. Now, the second question that you have to ask is, what is your instrumentation? This helps with the setup stage, but also helps determine if the budget fits the expectation. Just like what I just explained right here. What is your instrumentation? How many violins do you want? How many string sections do you want? How many horn sections do you want? Do you need this or do you want this? Okay, determine the instrumentation to be used. But you know, this cannot actually get perfect if the artist doesn't tell you the budget. Let's assume that the budget to get this quality is going to cost like $1,000, or say $2,000, or $500, depending on the song. And the artist wanted a value of $3,000. Certainly you make do with what the artist brings. What is the importance of this is going to help you to lessen your time, and it makes your recording session more easier for you. You understand? So these questions are very important. You should even ask, the third question you have to ask before the last question is, what is the purpose and the length of this recording? Is the recording for booking shows, a price kit, label release, or whatever? There should be the purpose. Okay, you are still an artist. I'll ask you, what kind of song do you want to record? What's your budget? What's your instrumentation? The next thing is, what this song you are recording, is it a label song? Is it just a song you want to put out there for your own self? Maybe when you need that to get happy, you play it. Is it a song just want to produce so that you give it to someone to have something in return? Is it an appreciation song? Okay, these are the things that's going to help to make the budget lesser or higher. Very, very important. Okay, now the last question is, what are your expectations? Is the artist or is the person you are recording expectation higher than their budget? Often people, do you understand what they are trying to say is that, like just like I explained before, that an artist will want a quality of $3,000, but his budget, his expectation is $500. Do you understand? It doesn't curtail. Seriously, it doesn't curtail, because at the end of the day, he has a higher expectation, but the budget at hand is not even up to what they're supposed to come as a quality. Do you understand? So these 4 questions is something that we engineers, we artists have to bear in mind before we enter into recording. I'm not saying that you can't record, you can't do your recording, whether professional or anything, but what I'm saying is that sit down, put these questions to yourself, answer it as an artist, answer those questions as an artist, and come up with a budget, so that once you're working with a professional engineers like us that understand these stages of recording, there's no how you pass through these stages of recording that you're not going to have a perfect result. Okay, so this is something that you guys have to understand, and I know that these tips that I have shared to you guys today is going to be helpful. And if it has been helpful, please give us a like this video, share this video, let it go viral. It's going to help some people out there that need this information. A lot of people need this information, so please try to share it. Okay, and in case you haven't subscribed yet, please click down the subscription button, turn on your notification bell, so you'll be the first to get notified once we upload a new brand video, because we do upload videos every week, Mondays and Fridays. Right beside me is Morex, and we are bringing this episode for you guys, which I know is very informative and very educative. Please stay back in this channel, and we'll see you next time. I remain your humble producer, Jakabit Jackson.